My name is Anthony Cito. I am one of the Queens Public Library digital instructors, and we'll be doing a presentation on data and what the just sort of demystify and inform everybody about data. I'll be using a few examples of where data is coming from and what other places and definitions that are used while looking for data. All right. So everybody, thank you for joining in. Let's get started. So this is the learning objectives of what we're going to be going through the session. We're going to be doing introductions. We just did the introductions for data. What is data and how is it very important? What are data sets and variables? What are the analytics of in data? Types of data, qualitative versus quantitative, and choosing the right approach of classifying data. So how is data defined? Well, data is information um, combined, combined with facts and numbers, analyzing in something or made a decision. So a lot of the data is facts, numbers, statistics, all bunch of informations that are sort of organized and collected and shown in different ways. So let's continue. So here's an introduction of what kind of data that's out here, some definitions. So here we have data as aggregate and a micro. So aggregate data is used in statistical summaries of data, meaning the data have been analyzed in some way, uh, been looked at, been shown, it's been computed, formulated, and shown some sort of data to be used. And then the microdata, the individual responsible for that is the surveys and census. This is the collective, also known as raw data. So we collect all the surveys, census, computations, the formulas, and sort of gather all that microdata before we can organize it into the aggregate data. There's also data points. What is a data point? A data point is a discrete unit of information. Okay, it's pinpoints where what specific items in the data that you're looking at. General sense, in single fact is a data point. The term data point is roughly equivalent to datum, a singular form of data. It's another word for data point, datum. Indicators, typically used as synonym for statistics, split, describe variables that describe something about social, economic environments for society. For example, per capita income, unemployment rates, median years of education, and so forth. Another definition that we want to go through, I mentioned something about statistics. Remember that describes some characters or status of a variable and the numerical summary of data that have been analyzed in some. So statistics is a big part of data. It uses characteristics and statuses of the information that we pull or gathered in, and um, it is always utilized whenever collecting data. So statistics is very important. Uh, like the word variable that you heard me say, it's in finding that can change or vary the variable. Examples include the measures such as number of logging operations in Alabama, logging industry in Alabama, how they formulate, collect all that information. It's also uh, used in data and measured. Then you heard me say database, a collection of data organized for research and retrieval. So a database is what the final product would be, what the outcome is to share that. So let's continue on and use all these introductions in throughout the whole part of the presentation. So here is the Open Data website. Okay, here is something that people can utilize, pull up information, whatever they're focused on, and get information on whatever subject they're looking at. And then the data part, you can type in what kind of data set, popular data sets in the search engine, and pull up different categories if for business, government, education, environmental, and health. Uh, there's also agencies that offers the data between the fire department, human resources, landmark preservation, as well as by different boroughs. As you can see, we have the Brooklyn, we have the elected officials of city councils, even CUNY. So there's different information that's off here that you can pull and get that information from to continue the research or just get an idea of what sort of statistic within the region or even an idea of what kind of business you want to focus on. This, well, sort of, it's a census as well as a statistic database of all the information out there in the New York NYC 5 boroughs. You heard the words data sets and variables. Okay, so a data set again is a set or a collection of data. Okay, and then a variable is any characteristic number or quantity, excuse me, that can be measured or counted. Okay, a variable may also be called a data item. Examples of data item: age, sex, business income, expense, country of birth, capital expenditure, class, grades, high color, vehicle types are examples of variables. And it could go on and on depending on what you're looking, what you're focused at. We're gonna, I have an example of the website of the health in NYC Gov and how their statistics looks like. So let me just pull that up for you. So again, this is the New York State Department of Health website. And this is where they put all their data and reports. And as you can see, once you click in health.ny.gov statistics, the information is right there under the dashboard. And here you have, the hot topics of asthma, COVID-19, influenza, that comes into play right now. And you can just pull up information. I like to use the information asthma to make sure that I won't get any sort of reactions during the days when there's the pollen count as well as certain locations with high traffic because of the pollutants. I want to make sure. So I check the New York State asthma prevention, get information on what locations are high asthma triggers that could cause me to have asthma attacks, as well as find information on how the other parts of New York State, as well as certain parts of New York City counties uh, in the New York State are affected by the asthma. And a lot of information here, if you're looking for is a demographic data, will show you all the information of any certain counties of what their kind of asthma rate is, or sorry, oops, yeah, total asthma emergency departments, certain um, emergency department. So in this one, it shows you the age groups of as young as baby, a newborn baby, to up to 65 and older. So different age groups is broken down in the values. Uh, the race, ethnicity, some religion, not religion, regions of New York City area. So here's a good example of data on an Excel spreadsheet that's been cleaned up a little and organized for you to see. And you can use this data to formulate databases and push the information so you could have a more accurate information. So you could utilize this, whatever you're looking for or whatever you want to research. This information is available to you, to the public, and share it off. So here's a good place if you want to look information about either asthma or COVID-19, any health-related issues or health concerns. This is a good place to show that. Um, yeah, it's a good place to start as well. Okay, let's continue on. I'm going to share off my screen, go back to the presentation, and here we go. All right, that was the health department for NY state level. Okay, continue on. Is what are the continuing with data analytics? What are the data analytics? So data analytics is science of analyzing raw data to make a conclusion about information. Many of the techniques and processes of data analytics have been automated into a mechanical process and algorithms. Right? Algorithms is a hot word that's been used throughout social media, through government websites, even businesses, algorithms. Algorithms that work over raw data for human consumption. So consumption is either through knowledge, human knowledge. So what is the difference between a qualitative analytic versus a quantitative analytic? So qualitative research is a methodology designed to explain the why behind the research findings. And a quantitative research is a methodology that provides support when you need to draw general conclusions from your research and predict outcomes. So one is qualitative, is to explain the why. Then the quantitative is just to draw the general conclusions from your research. And a good example of what I will show is the city map of the conjunction with the NYPD and all the data that was collected through the either mostly from the 911 calls. And here, let's go into that. So here's an NYC website in conjunction with the NYPD with all the data that was collected from all the 911 calls throughout the 5 boroughs. For the default on this for this data that they pulled, over here says crimes by location. It usually gives you examples of what they pulled it from. But the default or the first one that the data pulled on this website is burglary. And as you can see, of all the circles, the blue circles, this is the area that they collected from burglary throughout 5 boroughs. And I think within this past year or throughout the year. Okay. So as you can see, it the circles could be isolated into little areas within the 5 boroughs, and then it focuses on the information that you're looking for within either the community or the neighborhood that you're interested in. And then they'll give you a detailed report of how many burglaries are in that neighborhood, as well as throughout the 5 boroughs. As you can see, it's a hot area, the big circle showing like Midtown. But you can see there's all those circles as well throughout the 5 boroughs that indicates that those burglaries is there, and depending on where you live, you can pinpoint even further. You just double click how isolated it is or how generalized it is. This is in conjunction with the 911 and NYPD to show you this information on the NYC. That was the NYC, and that website is the maps.nyc.gov crime. And then now we're choosing the right approach in classifying data. How do we isolate, all the information that we collected from the raw data to classify which data that we're looking into and where we focus. So depending on your data type, your goal and domain, you will need to choose the most suitable data analysis method for you. There are two ways to perform data classification: the automated way and the manual. As you know, automated way, you collect all the data and let the computer, you can write a program to isolate all the information, categorize that information, then it has to spit out the report. Manual, where you have to go out, physically collect the data, and then bring it back so you can formulate all the data into a database or a report. Automated, the definition for this is automated classification can scale quickly, while a manual approach will give a direct touch to the data or hands-on involvement to retrieve that data. And here's another great example of where the right approach for classifying data as another NYC Gov post. Okay. Here we have the environmental health department portal. Um, this is where all the information from the environment and health information goes to, where you want to pull up the information. Have this one called Data Explorer, where their Data Explorer contains the hundreds of environmental health data sets, um, through tables, maps, and trends to view in the neighborhood level. And by doing a data set, you can get different categories: air quality, climate, housing, uh, child health, pest and pesticide, food and drink. And on the right, by clicking on one category, goes to subcategories, different lists as well. For climate, there's the asthma again, climate itself, the housing, the mental health, the waterways. It's very important because all the waters are either from rivers to, and you want to make sure all this information is accurate and up to date. And this is very great resource of pulling up all this information, health outcomes from the subcategories of all the top. And, and this is at the environmental health data portal. Uh, just the health in New York City for the 5 boroughs. As you can see, this pink 5 boroughs layout shows. And you can pretty much do a type up of what data sets you can pull out, and then see what's available. In closing, so we spoke about what is data and its importance, how we use data either in our own lives as well as in the business world, and how we keep track of data and who keeps track of the data and how we utilize it. We also learned about what the data sets and variables compared to basis of variables. And and then we learn what are the analytics. And finishing with the choosing the right approach, classification. So we should have a nice, clean set of data instead of raw data where it's pulled left and right, and then it's jumbled up all over the place. And then there's always a question with AI. So will AI replace data analysts? And I found a quote from a good resource where he says, will AI replace data analysis? So generative AI isn't going to replace data. It can help the analyst. So basically, AI is an additional resource now where you can use to find that data instead of going out manually and trying to pick up the data or try to grab that data, through clipboards and research and manpower. So AI is a tool, an additional tool that we can use now to pull that data, to find the data, to research the data and make it more um, absolute, clear, and concise, accurate data. And it's just an excellent resource that it would be helpful for the future. Absolutely. So generally, AI will not replace data analyst jobs, or it will replace people in many other fields, especially ones requiring human empathy and insight. So yes, computers can pull the data, manipulate the data, and formulate the data to show you where the information is coming from. But it always comes down to people trying to interact with people to get that information. Because some people just do not prefer to talk to them. Let's be frank. People prefer to talk to a person instead of a machine. So AI is an additional tool that you can utilize, but not something that would be replacing anyone or any vice position anytime. That is it. I'd like to thank everyone for joining in on this call, learning about data for today, and seeing all the information that I provided for you, and will also provide you in the future when I send out those links to you, so you can go in, pull the information that you're looking for, get the concise information that you can use for either for yourself or for business or any sort of research. And I like to also finish off with saying, uh, Queens Public Library also offers as a research data. And we also involve people in online and in person. We offer classes um, where we do instructions, sort of orientations, information to the people. So we have a few that we've been using and been doing. How to grow in Canva is one subject that we've been teaching. We also been teaching for a long time about Microsoft Office that we utilize in the office world, Microsoft Excel, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook. Anybody who has a question or wants to get familiar or just do a refresher on how to use these products, come and register, and then you could learn a little more about things. And then we have the other side of what Queens Public Library offers. STEM Club is what we definitely love to offer to the younger generation, curious minds of science and math. But, we encourage them to let the kids know, you can use math and science as a fun product, and it enhances your knowledge. And then we also encourage external resources, online courses from LinkedIn, GCF Global, Northstar Digital Literacy. We recommend those online courses. Some of them are free, some of them are not. But they're a good resource for getting information. And to finish off with my presentation, I like to show you at Queensbridge what we've done and as well as continuing to do for the future, for the year 2024. And I just want to click on that and I'll stop it and share it off the screen. And then this is what we've been doing, what we've been presenting throughout the years, many events that we've gone to, that we outside for the warmer days. Here's our continuing Cruise Tech Lab for any information that you want. You take a snapshot, take it, and go to those websites and links. And is there information for Data Week? Many things that's coming up. What we've done in the last couple of days. Here's our flyer. That's our old flyer for March. We're going to have a new flyer that's coming out in April. So down here is our website and email address if you want more information for April or whatever you see. If if you see something here that's more that you're interested in, just shoot us an email or just comment, click on the links to see what is offered over here. Uh, this is our schedule for the from this past winter 2024. We've done, and then again the STEM club that we offer for the younger minds, children who want to learn about science and math and technology. We offer that here. We also offer after hours, where we for the, maybe the teenagers or who want to learn more information about college, high school equivalency, continue to show that as well as promote that. Here's our Queens Public Library map of all the several, I think, 94 libraries, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, throughout the borough. And then here's our QR code. If you want to use the QR code, you could come in and get, you could take a picture of that and get certified. If you'd like to do that for any of the Microsoft applications that. All right. Okay, so again, I'd like to thank you, everyone, for joining in on this call, video in person. Again, my name is Anthony Cito. I'm with the Queensbridge Tech Lab, and I appreciate you and thank you again. Have a good day.